feel like we all have some kind of horror story in the beauty industry, or we've heard a horror story in the beauty industry before. And I've been really enjoying this podcast. One of the episodes that always stands out to me is one where this lady said that her client like knowingly exposed her to COVID. Y'all know we in the COVID era right now, so that one just had me like, oh my freaking gosh, like, are you kidding me? Welcome to the Friends in Beauty Podcast, a safe space for ambitious beauty industry creatives to have real talk, get real answers, and practical tools to grow their businesses. My name is Akua Robinson, and I'm a makeup artist, beauty educator, and the creator of Friends in Beauty. I created Friends in Beauty to support like-minded creatives, just like you, on their quest to connect, network, and build genuine relationships within the beauty community. Join me every week as me and my special guests reveal the keys to success and longevity in the beauty industry, and most importantly, have fun while doing it. You ready? Hey, what's up? It's your best friend in beauty, Akua Robinson. Welcome back to another episode of the Friends in Beauty Podcast. I'm so happy to have you here with me, and I hope you're listening to this episode in high spirits and in good health. If you are a friend in beauty, I welcome you to join the Friends in Beauty Facebook community. If you're looking for a community of ambitious, like-minded friends in beauty to virtually connect with and network and share resources, then click the link down below in the show description to join our community, and I'll be there to welcome you with open arms. Also, follow Friends in Beauty on all social media platforms at Friends in Beauty. What I like to do is something called the Friends in Beauty Friday feature, where every Friday I spotlight a different friend in beauty and their accomplishments, no matter how big or small you think it is. I want to shout you out. I want to send you some good vibes. All you have to do is use the hashtag FIB Friday feature and tag Friends in Beauty so I can see what you're up to and I can share with the community. Additionally, the Friends in Beauty podcast is available on several platforms. We're on Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, Google, you name it, we're there. And wherever you are listening from, I just want to take a moment to express my gratitude and say thank you for tuning into the Friends in Beauty podcast, to listen to what I have to say, listen to what my guests have to say. I just really, truly appreciate you so much, and I would really appreciate it even more if you would take the time to leave a 5-star rating or review on whatever platform that you're listening on. Subscribe to us on YouTube because I got some stuff coming for y'all, wink wink, in the future. So subscribe to us on YouTube and leave a comment so I can know what you feel about the Friends in Beauty podcast. Additionally, click the link down below in the show description to join the Friends in Beauty mailing list tribe, because you'll be the first to know about all things Friends in Beauty. My email list tribe, they get first dibs on everything, classes, events, content, everything. They get to know it first. And I like to send out different, resources throughout the week as well. So if that's something that you're interested in and you want to stay plugged in, click the link to join the Friends in Beauty mailing list tribe, okay? And lastly, share away. Share this podcast with your other friends in beauty, your friends, your family, anybody that you think could benefit from the information that is being shared here. Share so you can help us to grow our tribe, our community, and I would greatly appreciate it. And also, last thing, take a screenshot. Take a screenshot of this episode that you're listening to and post it and tag Friends in Beauty so I can know that you're actually listening, okay? Now let's go ahead and jump into this episode. On this episode of the Friends in Beauty podcast, which I have to pause and say real quick, this is episode 35. Oh my gosh, 35 weeks I've been doing this, and that is like huge to me. I cannot believe this is episode 35. That is crazy to even think about, just the amount of time that I've been wanting to do a podcast, and then I finally did it, and now I'm on episode 35. Okay. Okay, I just had to express that really quick. But on today's episode of the Friends in Beauty podcast, I want to give you 10 beauty and business podcasts that I feel like you should definitely tune into. I am a huge lover of podcasts. I listen to podcasts not only in the beauty and business categories, but I listen to podcasts in all types of categories. I love true crime. I love the spiritual categories. I love, what else do I listen to? comedy. I love all types of podcasts, but I want to focus on the podcasts that have helped me in my beauty business that I think that you can definitely find some value in as well. So let's go ahead and jump into it. This is going to be a super easy, straightforward episode. So this is in no particular order at all. All of these podcasts are amazing. But the first one that I want to mention is the Secrets to Success podcast. And I'll leave links to either the podcast or their Instagram pages down below so you can check them out too. But the first one that I want to mention is Secrets to Success podcast with Eric Thomas. And then he has his co-hosts CJ Quinney, Carl Phillips, and Jamal King. I absolutely love this podcast. I've been a fan of Eric Thomas probably before I became a makeup artist. And it's so crazy that I cannot even remember. I remember the video, but I cannot remember the time frame when I first like came across Eric Thomas. I just remember that the video so vividly in my head. But ever since that day, I've been a huge fan of Eric Thomas, and I've been following his journey, and I just love his motivational talks and everything like that. And that's exactly what this podcast is all about. You get to learn how to create the life you deserve, and you get to hear the hosts converse and give their insights on, the things that they're going through in their businesses and how they overcome it and everything like that. And for me, it's just really powerful to see a group of Black men just sitting down doing something positive. That's what I really love about it. But this is a great podcast to listen to for like business advice and just to keep you uplifted. They tell amazing stories, and they just have such unique and positive perspectives on things. So definitely tune into the Secrets to Success podcast. If you're a fan of Eric Thomas, then you'll definitely love this podcast because it's not all like 100% serious. They do get goofy on there and everything. So I love that podcast. Number two podcast that I really enjoyed that I know that you will love is the Makeup Show podcast. And the Makeup Show podcast, I believe they launched it last year. I remember they did like their first episode when we did the Friends in Beauty bus trip to the Makeup Show New York last year. But this podcast is hosted by Danessa Myricks, who I adore, and James Vincent. And they both have decades in the industry. So you can only imagine the amount of insight and knowledge and expertise that is shared on that show, and the people that they bring on is just amazing. They put all things makeup center stage. So anything that you want to know about makeup, business, like, and everything in between is shared on that podcast. And like I said, with them having decades like combined in the industry, amazing content and amazing resources and just information in general for you to tap into. Okay. Love the Makeup Show podcast. Number 3 on my list is the Online Marketing Made Easy podcast with Amy Porterfield. And this podcast, if you want to know how to start an online business, if you want to know how to grow your email list, sell more, grow faster, this is the podcast for you. This podcast is really designed to take immediate action. It has many marketing masterclasses, step-by-step guides. And that's what I really like about this podcast, because literally after you listen to an episode, you feel like you can actually implement, and you not feel like you can actually implement the information that is being shared. And it's really robust. Some of the episodes are like 45 minutes long, and it's literally like her going through master classes that she's had before or speeches, but all of the information that she shares is just so actionable. And I really love that about her podcast. Amy Porterfield is an amazing businesswoman, just out here killing the game. So definitely tune into Online Marketing Made Easy if you need some help in that sector, like the marketing, which we all do. Tune into Amy Porterfield, because you can definitely like make some moves just by listening to her podcast. Number 4 on the list is the Business Beauty Network podcast with Brandy Taylor, another beauty industry professional. Is where business meets beauty, and she shines a light on successful business and beauty pros. She has amazing interviews on there, and shares her amazing insight on the beauty industry as well. I really enjoyed that podcast. If you are in the beauty industry, of course, like, most of us are listening to the Friends in Beauty podcast, then definitely tune into Business Beauty Network podcast with Brandy Taylor, because you would definitely enjoy the interviews. Some of the people that she have on there, not some of them, all of the people that she has on there are amazing, but she really gets some like heavy hitters on that podcast, and it's really a joy to listen to. Number 5 on my list is Side Hustle Pro. And Side Hustle Pro is a podcast that spotlights bold Black women entrepreneurs who have scaled their businesses from side hustle to profitable business. And this is a really good podcast because I really enjoy just hearing people's stories. And that's part of the reason why I like to do the interview episodes on the Friends in Beauty podcast. Is just I really enjoy hearing people's stories from, where they started to, the progression to where they are now. And that's what the Side Hustle Pro podcast does. You get to hear from people in so many different industries, and just hear their stories, because I don't believe that you only need to hear from people in the beauty industry in order to get some valuable information. You can get information from other people in other industries as well. Side Hustle Pro is the bomb for that. And most people that are in the beauty industry, that I know of, they aren't doing it, full time. So technically the beauty industry is their side hustle. So if you want to know people's stories for how they took their side hustle to like scaling it to something full time and then they're out here killing it, definitely tune into Side Hustle Pro. And that's hosted by Nikayla Matthews. Forgot to mention that. Number 6 on my list is the Redefining Wealth podcast with Patrice Washington. And she has the belief that wealth is more than money and material possessions, and it's a focus on well-being in general. And I really like that perspective, because when it comes to wealth, this podcast is not telling you how to, build your finances or how to save more money and, all that stuff. It really focuses on wealth as a well-being and taking care of yourself. So I love the interview episodes that she has as well with different people, and her story is just amazing. Like, you really need to hear Patrice Washington's story of triumph just to see where she is now. It's kind of hard to believe where she came from sometimes, and it's just really inspirational to listen to the different stories and how people are shifting their mindset around wealth, and not just focusing on the finances, which of course is really important, but that's not all it is. So it just offers a very unique perspective on how to be successful and how to be wealthy. Number 7 on my list is the BTS With Brit, the podcast hosted by Brittany Rogers. And you may remember Brittany Rogers from episode 2. If you are OG, this is episode 35. So if you go back and you listen to episode 2 of the Friends in Beauty podcast, Brittany was the first person that I interviewed. And she shared with us that she was, thinking about starting a podcast and everything like that. And she finally launched. And I have been enjoying your podcast, Brittany. I'm so happy that you finally launched your podcast. But Brittany is a 10-year beauty, TV, and film makeup artist, and she shares her freelance journey on this podcast and interviews with top beauty industry professionals. And whether you're, just starting out in the beauty industry or you've, had some years, BTS with Brit would definitely help you level up your game. So it's something in there for everybody. And I love what you are doing with your podcast, girl. So keep it up. So check out BTS with Brit, the podcast. It's amazing. Number 8 on my list is Confessions of a Workaholic, and the host is Coriel. I love this podcast. First of all, I love Coriel's voice. It's so cool to listen to. I love her voice, but I love the podcast because she keeps it real with the highs and the lows of her journey as an entrepreneur. Now, Coriel is a boss, okay? She's out here doing her thing, but I love the fact that she shares the highs and the lows, because a lot of times we only, hear the good. We don't hear the bad and the ugly part of, being in business. So I love that she shares that. And she also has some amazing guests that come on the show and share their journeys as well. Like I said, I just love hearing people's stories of success or, triumph and where they came from. But I really commend Coriel in this podcast for really diving into kind of like taboo topics that people don't really want to talk about, or people are afraid to talk about because they might get canceled or something like that. check out Confessions of a Workaholic. Coriel is a true definition of a workaholic, and she is killing it. And that's work with a WERK, workaholic, okay? Number 9 on my list is the Package Your Genius podcast. And this is a personal branding podcast for high achievers. It dives into business, not only personal branding, but business, personal development, pitching your brand to the media. And this is a podcast too that once you listen to it, after you press in, you can definitely take action on the things that are being shared on this podcast as well. Package Your Genius just helps you put all of your expertise. I think I've talked about like talent stacking before, just, finding out what you're good at and packaging it in a way that is going to, be good for your audience and also beneficial to you. Package Your Genius helps you do that. So tune into that podcast as well. And the last one on my list that I've been really enjoying lately, and I think it's just such a genius idea for a podcast, is like, you see some things sometimes like, dang, why didn't I think of that? This podcast is so bomb. And it is the Swatch of Horrors podcast hosted by Memes. And this podcast shares beauty horror stories told by beauty professionals. So the guests call out beauty industry issues and bad client behavior and how to deal with it. I feel like we all have some kind of horror story in the beauty industry, or we've heard a horror story in the beauty industry before. And I've been really enjoying this podcast. One of the episodes that always stands out to me is one where this lady said that her client like knowingly exposed her to COVID. Y'all know we in the COVID era right now. So that one just had me like, oh my freaking gosh. Like, are you kidding me? So other people have shared some really crazy stories on there as well. So if you're into stuff like that and you have a story to share yourself, you can definitely hit up Memes so she can share your story. But wow, yes, the Swatch of Horrors podcast with Memes, people telling their beauty horror stories. Absolutely amazing. So I hope that was helpful. I really enjoy podcasts like so much because I am a reader. I love to read too, but that's, more so what I can do when I'm sitting. Audiobooks, they don't really do it for me most of the time. But for me, podcasts have been really, really helpful because, being on the go, being a makeup artist, I spend a lot of time, like if I'm not with my clients, I'm driving to and from my clients. So when I'm in the car, that's when I had the opportunity to just, listen to a podcast. Aside from like listening to music, I like to listen to things that's going to, be beneficial to me and uplift me and give me some business insight. So podcasts have been that for me and entertaining as well. So yeah, I love to listen to podcasts like on the way to and from my clients. It's just a good way to kill time and also to get some great information. So I hope that was helpful. I'm going to run down the list again. I will leave it down in the show description with information on how you can tune into these podcasts. But number 1 was the Secrets to Success podcast. 2, the Makeup Show podcast. 3, Online Marketing Made Easy with Amy Porterfield. Number 4, Business Beauty Network podcast. 5, Side Hustle Pro. 6, Redefining Wealth podcast. Number 7 is BTS With Brit, the podcast. Number 8, Confessions of a Workaholic, and that's WERK, work, okay? Number 9, Package Your Genius. And number 10, Swatch of Horrors. So if you love podcasts like me, make sure you tune in to these. And also look for the designated posts for this episode on Instagram, because if I missed a podcast that you know about, and this is definitely not like all of the podcasts that I listen to, there are more beauty and business podcasts that I definitely tune into. These are just the ones that came to me immediately, but there are definitely other ones that I listen to. But if you have a podcast that you would like to recommend for me to listen to, or our friends and beauty community to listen to, comment on the designated post for this episode and share with us, because I always love to add a new podcast to my list. All right, so I hope this was helpful. Tune into these podcasts, get your life, get this good information that is being shared on these internets and these sound waves for free, and up level your business and have a good time. All right, I will talk to you next week in another episode of the Friends and Beauty Podcast. Bye. Thanks for listening to the Friends in Beauty podcast. Don't forget, sharing is caring. Share this episode with at least one friend in beauty, and subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts so that other friends in beauty can find this show. Plus, we'd love to hear your feedback. Connect with us on all social media platforms at Friends in Beauty, #Friends in Beauty to join the conversation, and join our Friends in Beauty Facebook community to stay connected. Talk to you soon.